All right, I think I'm recording. So here's the journey that you all are starting with me down this semester, except instead of fall of 2022, it's fall of 20. You are now in 712, and this is your dissertation model. It is 6 hours, and on this particular course, between now and Christmas, we must write chapters 1, 2, and 3 of your dissertation. Now, if you want to accelerate, I'm all for it. But there's a lot of work that has to be done this semester. You're through with your coursework, and at this point, you can quit if you'd like and get an EDS degree, but you better not, because you and I are going to go across that line in the spring, in May, and we're going to become doctors, or you will become doctors and joining me in that distinction. So here's what we need to do. In these 6 hours that I have you for this semester, fall, we must write chapters 1 through 3, and it's not a draft, it's not a good likeness of it. We must finalize chapters 1, 2, and 3. And that's done with me. So what we're going to be doing over the next couple of weeks and months is you're going to be writing chapter 1, 2, and 3, finalizing it to me and sending it to me. And I'm going to give you feedback, and we're going to develop it together. Now, I am not going to read your 1 or 2 pages of chapter 1. I want to read all of chapter 1 to give you feedback on it. I want to read all of chapter 2. I want to read all of chapter 3, and that's how I'd like for you to do it. Send me all of chapter 1. When I say it looks great, or here's a few things, fix it, but send me chapter 2, send me chapter 3, and then, and I'm going to talk about some dates here in just a minute, but then between now and Thanksgiving, I want to have your completed chapters 1, 2, and 3 in a form that you and I are comfortable with going to our committee. Now, the other part we're going to do between now and Christmas, and this is the early December, we'll be making a presentation to our committee and getting them to sign off. This is critical, and this is probably the most important stage of your dissertation, because once your committee says, we like what you've done in chapters 1, 2, 3, move forward, the battle has been won, because there's no way we're going to go back and eat you up on chapter 4 and 5 if we have given you permission to move forward. So once through this presentation, we give you the permission to move forward, that's when we make our statement. That's when one of your team members may say, Patrice, you need to make chapter 2 a little stronger. Once you do that, when we come back in the next semester for chapters 4 and 5 and the final product, we're on board. So if you get past this presentation and we say, gung-ho, go on, then that's almost all the battle. Then you just have to do your research. So chapter 1, 2, 3 is important. This presentation is important. And by now, we'll talk about your committee. And then immediately after we do this in the 1st of December, we're going to complete that IRB application. And once that's done, you're going to start your research. So ideally over Christmas and the early weeks of January, you're going to start doing whatever kind of research you need to do and probably try to finish it up in January. Now, in the spring of 2021, these dates are wrong, but in the spring of 2021, at that point, you will take 713, which is a 3-hour course, and that's where you will work on chapters 4 and 5. You'll have done your research. You'll put chapters 4 and 5 together. We will do your defense, and then we will talk, and the publication is so easy. It's just a couple of hoops you have to jump to. So that's where we are, and that's kind of what we need to be doing. So with that said, I'm going to bring you back to your, that was interesting. My screen has stopped jumping. Who's Galaxy 510?
That may be Lachelle, Lachelle.
All right, welcome. I'm so glad you made it. All right, so if you will, all of you on your Blackboard shell have a 713 class, right?
Yes.
All right, so here you have this, and if you look at it now, which is where I want to go with you, this is some of the fall dates for you. These are your dates. Tonight, I have the class, the agendas. You have the next 2 nights that we're going to meet, and those are kind of progress checks. But our agenda tonight is I'm going to welcome, check in. I want to make sure everybody's surviving COVID. Patrice, thank God you're okay. And the rest of you stay safe. I also want to say during this whole dissertation process, if you have a major medical emergency or something like that, reach out to me, because the university makes provisions for that to kind of give kind of slow things down without you're harming you in some ways. But again, let me repeat, in 2 semesters, folks, we are marching across the stage in May if they do it here at Gardner-Webb. We're going to get that hood. We're going to get that doctorate. Dr. Bull's going to shake your hand and call you doctor. We're doing that in May of 2021. So you got to fly with me. I warned you when you asked me to be your chair. We've got to move quickly, and I'm going to hold your feet to the fire. But a lot of it you got to do on your own. So here's your timeline. Tonight we're going to look at timelines and a couple of other things. So now these are, I want to say they're not firm timelines, but I do want you to try to make them. I want not your draft of chapter 1, but I want I feel best about chapter 1 by September the 19th. I know, 2 or 3 weeks, I'm sorry, but you've been working on it, or you should have been already working on the outline of it. So hopefully you built some of the basis of this, some of the basic structures. So I would concentrate on making sure that your chapter 1 is in here by September the 19th. Now, if you feel better about chapter 2, give me chapter 2 by September the 19th. You can mix up these chapters any way you want. If you need more time on chapter 1 and you feel really good about chapter 2, send me chapter 2 first, and then start working on chapter 1. So these dates are just kind of targets, but I do want you to try to stay as close as you can. So chapter 2, October the 17th, chapter 3, and your final copy where we feel really good about it, I'd like to have that by November the 14th. And that means that will give me and you an opportunity to go over it and with a fine-tooth comb and say, we need to work on this, we need to work on that, and turn it around. At that point, we will notify our committee and we will pick one of these dates, December 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, or 9, for about an hour and a half. We will pick one of those dates and we'll ask our committee what date they can meet with us. And we will do a Zoom presentation for you to do a PowerPoint on chapters 1, 2, and 3. And I am going to send you a copy of a PowerPoint that has been used in the past for chapters 1 through 3 for the presentation. Now remember, you meet with your committee twice. You meet with your chairman as much as you need. Your committee only meets for your presentation, and you are going to have your presentation on one of these dates. And then they meet the next time when you have your defense, and we're going to do that next semester. So we'll talk about that next semester. All right, so once you have defended, once you've made your proposal, your presentation, at that point, we will, in the committee, because here's what's going to happen. You're going to be Zooming. I'm going to put you in a breakout room. I'm going to meet with the other 2 people in your committee, and we're going to say, you know what, Patrice just nailed it. So she can move on as it is. Or we may come back and say, Steve needs to make chapter 2 a little stronger, but you and him work on that, we're fine with it. And that's like a go too. All we're looking for is go. And there are 2 ways to come out of this presentation. One is the Patrice way. It's awesome. Go on, do it. The second is the Steve way, and that is there's small changes, but you can make that with the chair. Those are the 2 options. And that means that Steve and I would just sit down, we'd fix whatever it is in chapter 2 your committee wants you to fix. It will not slow us down. Now, if the committee comes back and says, we're not sure about this, we need to meet again, that will slow us down. So that's why chapter 1, 2, and 3 is so important to get it perfect before we get our committee involved. And it's okay. Every single committee I've sat in on, it's okay. The committee will make a small suggestion. I've never had a committee say no. I've never had a committee say we need major changes. I've had every committee say, hey, he needs to cover this in chapter 2, or I'm not unsure what this paragraph means in chapter 1. And trust me, that's just a quick little Zoom session with you and I. We've got it fixed and we move on. So at the end of that presentation, we are ready, set to go. So once the committee has approved us, then we need to complete the IRB application. And that is in your shell. That's over here. You can pull up the latest IRB application. I really wouldn't suggest you mess with it now. We need to focus on chapter 1, 2, and 3. But we will have to do one more thing, and that is the IRB form. And then we turn that in. And once the IRB committee approves it, and let me just say this too, that's a committee here at Gardner-Webb. 80% of the time, they send it back with some changes. And it takes them about 2 weeks to clear. So that's why we want to get it perfect the first time we send it. I'm going to work with you on getting your IRB form as perfect. I will tell you though, 80% of them come back. And it's something like you need a period here, or did you get permission for this? It's just little small stuff, but it has to be done. So that's important, and we'll talk about that. Don't waste any time on it now, because we'll start talking about that actually in October when we talk about the IRB application. All right, so here's my personal information. Next time we meet, which will be September 29th, we're going to do a progress check. I'm going to give you feedback on what you've sent me so far. And then finally in October, before that date, November, we're going to talk progress check, feedback, IRB application. I'm going to give you a PowerPoint presentation of someone who did chapter 1, 2, and 3 and did a phenomenal job, and some guidance on how to do your presentation. Now, the thing that I need for you to do tonight or tomorrow for me is somehow or another to capture this form here. I cannot mess with this shell because it's controlled by Garner Web, so I had to put it here. But if you do not mind, everything below here, this information form, I know you probably have done it before, but there's some new information I need about your committee members. And I do need a copy of your CITI certificate as well. So if you can kind of, and you know what, I could probably just email you this form, couldn't I? Let me do that. All right, so also, at this point in time, your personal emails, I would not use them. I'd use your Garner Web, because that's how Garner Web's going to communicate with you. And so when I send out emails, they're going to go to your Garner Web one. So keep an eye on that one, and that's how you communicate. Now, when you send me things for me to grade, there is nothing over here for you to well, come to think of it, I think I did put something over here. You know what? I did not. So you don't have to submit anything to me but chapter 1, 2, 3. So do that to my personal email, which is Stonenator, right here. Send that to me. That's how you'll be communicating me with chapters 1, 2, and 3. Now, I'm going to send you a copy tonight, maybe a little later, or maybe in the morning, a copy of this form. I do need this back. You can send it to me to Stonenator. Now, the other thing I want to show you, oh, this isn't you. Never mind. You are, all right, so I have all this. No, that's where it wouldn't let me add anything. I don't know why. So, where am I? I'm back to, all right, so, shoot me emails if you have questions about what chapter 1 should look like, what chapter 2 should look like, what chapter 3 should look like. And you'll be getting probably every 2 weeks, you'll be getting an email from me saying, you know, make sure your chapter 1's on progress. Here's some things you may want to consider. And I will probably send you one tomorrow, some chapter 1 through 3 guidance, just in case you don't have it someplace or something. But start working. And I know many of you have already gotten a great start on chapter 2. You did that in 708 and in 710. Hopefully you got a good start on chapter 1. And if you have, you'll see now you're sitting pretty. If not, we got a lot of work to do. But I promise you, Garner Web will take your money as long as you enroll. And they will let you enroll for 7 years.
Oh, Jesus.
You and I are done in the spring and May of 2021. I promise you, if you make an effort and you do as much as you can, and you're going to have to set aside some weekends, get the spouse, get the significant other out of the way, and just say, I've got to concentrate. And I know it's hard. I know you've got other lives. I know you've got tremendous things going on, but you are so close. Now, if you, and you cannot drop this program and not get your dissertation, not do your dissertation and get your doctorate. That is an absolute waste of money. So we're going to do it, and we're going to do it in 2 semesters, because I'm going to push you, and I will push and push and push, but you have to do the work. But I will promise you I'll get you across the line if you work with me. And it will be fun. And you've all picked a topic. You've all done some research on chapter 2. You've also gotten introduced to chapter 1. So really, truly, you ought to be pretty good or refining what you've got. Now, are there any questions for me before I remind you of the next meeting, September 29th, if someone could reach out to Melissa and Gradisha, I sent them an email and give them those dates to make sure that they, I hate for them to miss something. I am recording this, so I think I'm recording it. So yeah. So I will post it online for them and send it to you, all of you in an email. But this is what I need, folks. And I'll send you this form and some guidance from chapters 1, 2, and 3. Are there any questions for me? This will be fun. And when you get behind it, you're going to say, oh my God, that was so easy. Just remember this. Whatever topic you're picking, here's some things you need to know. Whatever topic you pick should be of something of interest to you, and it should be something that's easily doable. Don't overreach. The other thing is, your committee are your friends. The 2 people you choose should be really good friends of yours. Or people with a doctorate, of course. They have to have a doctorate. But these are going to be people that, you know, you really trust. I'm going to help you get across the line too. That's my job, but that's also what I want to do. I want you to be as successful. I want you to get across it, and I want it in 2 years, 2 semesters. So your committee is your friend, and you are going to be the expert on this topic. Nobody on your committee is going to know more about it than you. All you've got, and this is a way for you to show that you can do scholarly research. So we are going to make it happen. Are there any questions before we zoom out? Stay safe, keep your distance, wear your mask. Where's mine? Are there any questions for me? All right. All right, everybody. I will see you. Work on chapters 1, 2, 3, whatever you can do. All right. All
Thanks,
right.
Dr. Stone.
You're more than welcome. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Great.
Good night.